The events I'm about to relate began a fortnight ago in a grim old house perched high on a cliff on the west coast of Scotland. This singular structure is known as Drearcliff House. Gathered there for dinner were the 7 members of a most extraordinary club called the Good Comrades. Into this unique gathering came their melancholy housekeeper, Mrs. Monteith, bearing a message for Ralph King, a retired barrister. King received it casually. When they saw the contents, the Good Comrades took the whole thing as a joke. But their housekeeper was right. It was no laughing matter. For on the following night, Ralph King died horribly. But this was only the beginning. A few nights later, as the Good Comrades gathered to drink a final toast to their departed member, Mrs. Monteith entered with a second envelope, this time addressed to Stanley Rayburn, in his day a distinguished actor. This time, you may be sure there was no laughter. These men were afraid, and their fear was justified. For once again, the message proved to be a portent of death. It was 10 days before Rayburn's battered body was recovered.
Tell me, Mr. Chalmers, what do these envelopes contain?
In the first case, 7 orange pips, or C's. In the second case, 6.
And the number of orange pips refer to the surviving members. A grim warning, eh, Holmes? Looks like murder.
Not necessarily, Watson. A moment ago, you referred to this club as extraordinary. Why?
All of the members are past middle age, retired, and without near kin. 6 months ago, they formed this club here in London, then promptly left for Drearcliff, the ancestral home of a Mr. Bruce Alistair, their eldest member.
Nothing very remarkable about that. Sounds rather friendly, as a matter of fact.
The remarkable fact is that all 7 of these men appear to have but one thing in common.
Huh? What's that?
Elementary, my dear Watson. Each is worth a great deal more dead than alive.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. How did you guess?
My dear Mr. Chalmers, you represent the Association of Insurance Underwriters. You're worried about the untimely deaths of these 2 good comrades. Ergo, these men must carry rather large insurance policies.
Yes, but that's not all. Shortly after forming this club, all these 7 men changed their policies, making the other members their beneficiaries. The policies total over £100,000.
That's very enlightening. You paid the 5 surviving members on the policies of King and Rayburn?
Oh, yes, we always pay promptly. But what worries me, Mr. Holmes, is...
whether these 2 deaths were accidental or not.
Exactly. Of course, I may be wrong. I have no proof, but it seems to me just possible that one of these men plans to murder the others one by one.
And collect on all the policies. I see the whole thing, Holmes.
Bravo, Watson, but why the orange pips?
Oh, yes, the orange chips.
Pips, Watson.
Bit of a puzzler, eh, Holmes?
Quite. A most intriguing feature. It's back all around this place.
After all, Mr. Holmes, several lives may be at stake. The temptation of sudden wealth could
possibly turn one of these seemingly harmless men into a ruthless killer.
Exactly.
Are those the Good Comrades?
Yes.
Oh. Let me see him, will you? Hello. Who's this fellow on the end?
That's Dr. Merivale.
Dr. Simon Merivale?
I believe his Christian name is Simon.
Yes, definitely, Dr. Simon Merivale. I'll accept your case, Mr. Chalmers. Watson, pack your things. We're off to Scotland tonight.
Scotland, home of my ancestors. A lonely land, but a peaceful one. It's wonderful after stuffy London, eh, Holmes? I say, who is this Dr. Merivale? Oh, well, if you want to behave like a clam, you haven't uttered a word since we left London.
Sorry, old fellow, I was thinking. 20 years ago, Dr. Merivale was a famous surgeon in Harley Street.
Can't be so very famous. I never heard of him.
Nobody was. His main claim to distinction, of course, was the unnecessarily brutal murder of his young bride.
Really?
However, he testified so brilliantly in the witness box that he was acquitted. After which, he dropped completely out of sight.
And you think that he was most probably responsible for the death of these two good comrades?
Well, I don't say that he was, but I do say that he could have been. Murder's an insidious thing, Watson. Once a man has dipped his fingers in blood, sooner or later he'll feel the urge to kill again.
Oh, gracious me. Very unpleasant. Funeral home. You suppose we're too late?
Oh, I think you're unnecessarily suspicious, Watson. One of the villagers, eh?
Aye, sir. Mr. McTavish, the blacksmith.
Now, daughter, don't be talking to strangers.
It wasn't her fault. I asked your daughter whose funeral it was.
Andy McTavish, cut down in the flower of his manhood.
What a pity. Young fellow, eh?
Just 72.
72? Flower of his manhood. Trying to be funny.
Come on, Watson.
Oh, 72, flower of his manhood. I think about 40 men.
All ready, what do you want?
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
We telegraphed for reservations from London.
Name, sir?
Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Yes, we're here. Your room's ready, sir.
Thank you.
Sign there, gentlemen.
Yes, indeed.
Are you staying long, gentlemen?
No, not long.
Well, we just came up here to look into the... We just came up here for the shooting.
Shooting?
Yes, sir. Grouse, of course.
No grouse here, sir, for the last 40 years.
No grouse?
Cheer up, Watson. You'll find some other quarry to occupy our time.
This way, gentlemen.
Take the gun, will you? Take the big bag.
So you're back earlier than usual, Dr. Merivale.
Gentlemen, I've just made a rather intriguing discovery. The village of Inverness has a distinguished visitor.
Huh? Really? Who?
Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Who? I didn't quite catch the name.
Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
Sherlock Holmes, the famous detective. One wonders what he can be doing in Inverness.
Have you forgotten, Alistair, that 2 of our members have already met with violent deaths?
Yes, of course, yes.
Cosgrave, must you pace up and down like a monkey in a ruddy cage?
I fail to see how what I do can concern you.
Simpson! Cosgrave! Cannot we behave like good comrades?
Doesn't anything ever get on your nerves, Alistair?
Oh, dear me, no. I have no nerves.
Now, tell me, McGregor, the present head of the house is Mr. Bruce Alistair, is it not?
Aye. Grandson of Donald Alistair. He was the lawless one. He turned Drearcliff House into a smuggler's den. Got himself blown to bits by a gun.
Gracious me.
And Angus Alistair was his son. He was eaten by cannibals in the South Seas.
Very unfortunate family, eh, Hal?
They found Angus's bones. Sent them back to Drearcliff, where no man ever goes whole to his grave. The place is haunted.
Haunted? You mean ghosts?
Only a fool believes in ghosts. Spirits never haunted Drearcliff.
5 minutes to closing time, gentlemen.
Only the memory of evil.
You're wanted at Drearcliff House, Sergeant.
What is it, woman?
Murder.
Alistair himself, is it?
I don't know. Dr. Merivale didn't say.
Mr. Holmes, would you care to come along?
Yes, I would, thank you. Watson?
You mark my words. Alistair has met the brutal death of his fathers.
Good evening, Sergeant. Oh, Mr. Alistair, this is Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I took the liberty of...
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
Oh, this is excellent, most excellent. Please come in, gentlemen.
Please come in.
And welcome to Drearcliff House.
Now, where is the
corpse? Follow me. It's by the furnace.
The furnace?
Yes, poor Davis. He was burnt to a crisp.
Burnt to a crisp? I say, Holmes, this murderer sounds a bit of a fiend, eh?
At least he's consistent.
Consistent?
Yes, the deaths all follow the legend of Drearcliff. Whereas McGregor puts it, no man ever goes whole to his grave.
You will come in here, gentlemen, won't you?
Oh, thank you.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. These gentlemen have come about the body.
Why didn't you take them to the cellar?
Oh, no, Dr. Merivale. You discovered it. After all, it's your body.
That's right. I say, you're Sherlock Holmes, aren't you?
I am, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you know?
How do you do, sir? Yes, I thought I recognized you. You know, I've followed your exploits for years. The detection of crime is one of my hobbies. This is a surprise and a pleasure.
A pleasure, I hope, but hardly a surprise. You saw me at the inn this afternoon.
Touché. This is Alan Cosgrave. And Captain Simpson.
How'd you do?
How do you do?
A distressing business, Mr. Holmes. We were all fond of Guy Davis.
Davis? Oh, the fellow in the furnace. But if he was burnt to a crisp, how'd you know that it was Davis?
Well, he's the only one missing. Besides, we identified him by his cufflinks. But you'll see for yourselves. Come along, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good chap.
May I ask, Dr. Merivale, whether Mr. Davis also received the warning of the orange pips at dinner?
Oh, so you know about the others. You seem to be very well informed about our affairs, Mr. Holmes. As a matter of fact, Davis didn't have dinner with us tonight.
Had he indicated his intended absence?
No. No, he hadn't. Mrs. Monteith was quite put out about it.
Pardon me, will you, gentlemen?
Dr. Watson, what's Mr. Holmes up to?
I haven't the foggiest. Oh, you'll find out, my dear sir, in good time.
Isn't there something you wish to tell me, Mrs. Monteith?
Me, sir?
Yes. Please give it to me. The envelope addressed to Mr. Guy Davis. Thank you.
$5 pips this time. How'd you know that she had them?
It's obvious, my dear Watson. Since Mr. Davis was not at dinner, Mrs. Monteith had no opportunity to deliver the envelope.
Yes, of course. Quite obvious.
Where'd you find it?
It was pushed under the door like the others.
Thank you, Mrs. Monteith. That will be all.
Where are they coming from, Mr. Holmes? Who's sending these things to us?
Is there anyone who might have a grudge against you? Have orange pips any significance for any of you? Well?
I seem to remember reading somewhere that among some obscure tribe of savages, orange pips were looked upon as a symbol of death.
Oh, really? Sergeant.
Aye, sir?
I think you'd better telephone Scotland Yard.
Oh, we've never had a telephone at Drearcliff House, no. They're so noisy.
I can make the call from the village, sir.
All right. It's not often we have the opportunity of meeting such charming people. You go ahead, I'll follow you.
I'm afraid, Mr. Holmes, if you don't go with the sergeant, there's no way to get back to the village tonight.
Oh, but Mr. Holmes, there's no need for you to stay at the inn. It's such a dreary place. We've plenty of room here, and it's much more cheerful.
I thought we came here for privacy.
We wouldn't dream of putting you out.
Oh, but I thought it would be so nice to have such exciting people as our guests.
Thanks very much.
I'm sure Mr. Holmes's business in the village is much more important, Alistair.
Please, Mr. Holmes, we insist. I think Alistair's idea is an excellent one, don't you, gentlemen?
You speak for yourself, Cosgrave.
Come, come, come. We are all friends, aren't we? Or are we?
Guy Davis was a friend, too. So were King and Rayburn. You've got to stay, Mr. Holmes. You and Dr. Watson. We can put you up. Any objections, Dr. Merivale?
This is a tempest in a teapot, Mr. Holmes, but you're welcome, of course. And now, if you'll all excuse me, I'm rather tired. Good night.
What do you say, Simpson?
Glad to have you, gentlemen, of course.
Then you will stay, both of you?
Thank you, Mr. Alistair. We should be very glad to. Sergeant, will you have our things sent up from the inn?
Right away, sir.
This is excellent. I'll tell Mrs. Monteith to get your rooms ready.
Mr. Holmes, I must say I feel a lot safer now that you and Dr. Watson are in the house.
Oh, delighted to be of any use, Mr. Cosgrave.
And, well, if you would care to keep me informed if you should discover anything, I would be only too glad to help you. I'd do anything to get to the bottom of this awful mystery.
I'll bear that in mind, Mr. Cosgrave.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, what do you make of it, Watson?
Well, my theory is it's Dr. Merivale. Did you take a look at his eyes? Rather frightening, eh?
Yes, but that might be accounted for by advanced myopia. Complicated with astigmatism.
Well, who do you think it is?
At the moment, I suspect no one and everyone. So it's your theory that Dr. Merivale's the murderer?
Yes, Merivale.
What about Captain Simpson?
Simpson? I see what you mean.
Do you?
Yes, there's a surly-looking chap if I saw one. He didn't much relish our being asked to stay here, either.
Right you are, Watson. Do you suspect anyone else?
Well, of course, there's old Alistair.
And what might cause you to suspect Alistair?
Well, he's too good to be true. What are you looking for now, Holmes?
I wish I knew, Watson.
Someone's got a morbid taste in literature.
Or a thirst for knowledge.
Well, Holmes, there's one of them that's got nothing to do with it.
Who?
Cosgrave.
Why Cosgrave?
Oh, he's definitely got the wind up. Fairly begged us to stay just now. Yes. I'd vouch for Cosgrave, all right.
Mrs. Monteith will be down directly to show you to your rooms. I just popped in to say good night.
Oh, thank you.
I trust you'll sleep well.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Alistair, I wonder if you could tell us which one of you suggested changing your insurance policies, making the other members of your club the beneficiaries.
Oh, let me see now. Oh, yes, of course. It was dear old Alan.
Alan?
Yes, Alan Cosgrave. Good night.
Good night.
Cosgrave. I suspected him from the start.
Yes, you did, didn't you? How about a pipe before we go to sleep?
Sleep? I shan't be able to close my eyes in this sinister house.
Your rooms are ready, gentlemen.